Hello, everybody. This is Kelly and Jim from the XFiles Preservation Collection, and we're here talking with Christopher Logan today. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, guys. Nice to be
How
here.
you doing?
It's so
I'm good.
awesome to be talking to you.
Absolutely. First things first, I'd like to know is how you got into acting.
I was pretty much always the kid who tried to climb into the TV set. I couldn't get close enough to it. And from Gilligan's Island to whatever sitcom, whatever sci-fi show was on, Star Trek, I was seriously trying to crawl into the TV. I just couldn't get close enough to it. So first chance I got, I went to the Stella Adler Academy in Los Angeles and studied there for a few years from Ottawa. And then I moved to Vancouver when I finished my studies there. And then started to as a character actor, I guess, in the Vancouver film industry. And the weird thing is, I think one of the very first auditions I had in the early 90s was the X-Files. I didn't get the part back then, but but I did do quite a few auditions for the X-Files at that. So to me, coming back and being part of the relaunch was sort of like things coming full circle.
That's awesome.
Interesting, very interesting.
Were you a fan of the show back, when it was in its heyday?
I was. I wasn't like into every detail and crazy, but I did watch it religiously, and I was quite taken with it. I was more into the mythology shows, the mythology aspect of it, and I really, really loved a lot of the humorous episodes, like the cockroach episode.
Yep, that's a good one.
That's a good episode, very much.
Yep.
How did you land the role as Sanjay in Founders?
I had actually auditioned for a role on the episode before, or actually what was supposed to be the episode before, as a transgendered prostitute who hits a monster with her purse.
Oh yeah.
Which went to this drag queen Shangela, who I know because I did a drag queen coffee table book years ago. Anyway, but I had originally auditioned for that part. And then I got called back to audition for the next episode, Founders Mutation, as Gupta, who was Sanjay's lover. And then after that, I got called back to audition for Sanjay. And that, I have to say, was it was an interesting audition because it was about 2.5 pages with no dialogue. So it was just, he sees birds out of the corner of his eye. He tries to write something, his pencil breaks, he starts to shake, he starts to scream, but no sound comes out. Just constant things like that. And I guess in my head, I thought maybe at the audition, somebody would narrate a little bit or something. Now you do this, now you do that. They just said go, and I ran around like a chicken with my head screaming. A chicken with my head cut off, just screaming and crying for like 20 minutes.
Huh, that's interesting.
It is, yeah.
It was a very weird audition, but
one thing about that role is you had to be able to like communicate a lot without words. It had to be challenging.
Yeah, it was good. It's always an interesting thing to do because it feels so intimate when you're watching it, but you've got so many people around you when you're doing it that it's kind of crazy. So you have to come from a very supported place. And the director and everybody on that set are just great at making everyone feel comfortable. So that's first and foremost, you feel safe enough to throw yourself at it. And for stuff like that, where it's very physical acting and it's very emotional, you have to be able to. So they're really good for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it had to be challenging, like you're acting that role knowing that you're in pain because of sound.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things because at the time you're doing it, you don't really know what the sound is going to sound like. So you're just, it's a little intangible, but I think it's the uncertainty of what it is that lets it play, if that makes sense. It plays to more people because everyone, when you're watching something like that, it's like it's like the space in a panel between a comic book. Everyone's picturing something different happen. So that everyone's sort of picturing a different sound in their head, possibly, at that time. It's just as long as, it's looking right, it's feeling right, and it's connecting, and people can see the pain on your face. They'll call cut and move on to the next shot.
It was very interesting. It kind of reminded me, in a way, it reminded me kind of like a Twilight Zone-esque, something like that. I mean, when you read the script, that you were the sound, you were in pain, and then you had to do yourself in. I mean, did you say to yourself and like, what is this?
Well, I'll be honest. I do have a history of dying a lot on shows in Vancouver. Like I've died probably 12 at that point, probably 12 or 13 times in a 5-year period. So I'm pretty used to it, and it's sort of the wheelhouse of things I get offered. The auditions that I come in are like usually probably very physical roles, a little a lot of deaths, a lot of stabbings, a lot of been stabbed, hung, shot out of an engine, shot out of an airplane. I died in Tron Legacy. I died on Poltergeist Legacy. I died on Stargate. I died on a whole bunch of different shows. So it's just
Wow, sounds like you're getting pigeonholed into dying.
Oh, well, a little bit, but it's sort of, I think it's more the physical acting thing, because it's a very hard thing to do that in an audition, to go into a very small room and have your world fall apart around you and have it believable. So I'm good at that part of it. So it is in my wheelhouse. So I guess that's why I get called for those things.
Well, speaking of dying, I gotta know how the letter opener, how did they do that?
It's actually a little retractable thing. It was actually a little retractable thing with a ball on the end, which, to be honest, it's one of those things where if you trust it, you just place it there, it instantly goes to the right spot. And the first couple of times when you don't trust it, you're overdoing it and overthinking it and almost get it in your ear. And anyway, but it's just a little collapsible thing.
That's still got to be scary as heck, you know?
I would say the prop people are very good at talking you through things and letting you know. I mean, I know from working on a lot of shows where you're working with ammunition or guns and things, everyone's so very specific about talking you through everything to do with props and everything, single thing for safety and stuff. And they were very good on this show for that too. Especially when you're about to stick something in your head. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is that tendency sometimes, you get kind of hyped up, your adrenaline's going, and you just want to pound it, which you can't really do, right?
No,
So
you don't want to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Was that in the morgue scene? Was that you?
I mean, it is for some of it. It was actually the first scene I met Gillian Anderson in. I was already dead, so I was like pretty much practically naked under a slab. Sorry. There you go. Sorry, I was practically naked under a slab when I met her for the first time. And then we did that scene. But there was a dummy as well, actually.
Yeah.
I did get full body cast and everything at the Creature Shop down here. And that was quite a crazy experience. And it's kind of creepy seeing your corpse and stuff. And I guess you guys know, because you have my corpse, I think.
No, not yet, but we're on the lookout.
You have the outfit. You have the outfit, I think.
Yeah, we've got a lot of your wardrobe. We have some of your wardrobe that you were sitting at the office table with all your colleagues. We have that. We have the wardrobe where you stabbed yourself and you're laying in the blood.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of your clothes.
How do you source that stuff? How do you guys go about getting these things? It's just random people approach you, or you go through set sales, or?
Well, the stuff that we got that was yours, there was a major auction. They did season 10.
Yeah.
And we got quite a bit from season 10. And some of the stuff we get from other private collectors. Right. Chris Carter donated a bunch of stuff to us.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah. All viewers, we also have the X-ray with the thing in your head. we have the letter opener that was on the ground or whatever afterwards.
Yeah, we got the where they covered you up in the morgue. We have that.
Actually, the letter opener was always a bone of contention for a friend of mine who's an editor, because he's the only person who ever brought it up. Everybody else was right into the show and right into that scene and everything. He's the only one who mentioned that I'm in a high security computerized lab that has no paper in it and grab a letter opener from somewhere.
Yeah, we also have we also have the marker that you were writing on your palm of your hand. We have the marker of that too.
Oh wow! That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff, But I got to tell you, you know, the blood does not hold up well after all these years. It hardens up.
Yeah, it gets pretty crusty, I would think.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep it.
You know, so I mean, you weren't in that episode very long, you know.
No, I think it's pretty much probably a 6-minute intro or something like that. Yeah, and then we're dead, pretty
you
much.
know.
And you die, and then the whole episode's about what happened to you, but you're only in it for a few.
I've had a few shows like that where I'm basically the intro, and then it's two people figuring out what happened to me.
Yeah, so I mean, you're all the, you know, the colleagues that you were working with, you know, did they have any previous connections to the X-Files?
I don't actually know personally. I mean, as far as the people that were in the conference room with us, like what was it, Omari Newton and Nikolai Wishel and Alison Wanzura, who are all character actors and people in Vancouver that we've worked on many other shows with. I don't know personally if they've had any other connections with the X-Files, but I mean, if you're in the Vancouver film industry, there's, you know, a lot of people who have worked on different versions of the X-Files over the years. Yeah, I mean, all the other, I think Amanda Burke, who's in one of the other scenes, I mean, I've known her for years on different shows, but we're in a lot of movies together, but we've never actually worked together, been in the same scene. Things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did the X-Files, you know, doing this show, did it help your career at all?
To be honest, it's one of those things in Vancouver. We're sort of off to the side for Hollywood and stuff like that. So parts on television and stuff like that, everything always helps your career and stuff like that. But it's not something where you build a grand momentum like you do in Hollywood, where you're just on to the next thing and on to the next thing. Because we'll do one like for myself, I'll do one part like that, and then you have a break for several months, and then you do another. So you kind of come in and out of it a bit.
Right.
It was kind of cool though. I think myself stabbing myself in the head, or say it was like the #1 GIF on Mashable the next day.
I believe that.
Which was kind of interesting. So
yeah, because I remember, you know, when that episode aired, you know, we were watching the episode. And when you stabbed yourself in the head, you just felt it.
Yeah,
we
had to cringe a little.
We had to go get the headache medicine because I was like, no, he did not do that.
Yeah, cringe is a good word for that moment.
You know,
it's the perfect cringy horror kind of thing.
So what do you do now? Do you still act, or are you like behind the camera?
Yeah, I'm moving behind the camera a little more, working on writing and producing, but I have a very blink and you miss it part in the new Casey Affleck movie, Every Breath You Take. And I had an episode of the show Upload recently, and a guest star on the last season of Arrow. But right now I'm moving much more into producing and writing. I got a $100,000 Canada Council grant for a film I wrote called Kiri and the Girl, which is debuting this summer in film festivals. We just got nominated for Emerging Filmmaker and Best Scripted Film for that this year already. And that's the story of my producing partner, Kiri, who is a First Nations artist. She's Indigenous. And she found her way back to her culture and who she was after her adoption by studying the art of the Pacific Northwest. And we wrote sort of a fairy tale version of events. And that's what we ended up
Very
filming.
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you prefer being like behind the scenes, behind the camera, to in front of it?
I think of them as different animals, but at the moment I'm in a zone where I'm really getting into the writing and producing. I'm really enjoying the building blocks of stories and breaking things down and bringing a team together. I'm finding it's something that I really thrive at.
Very interesting.
Awesome, yeah.
You know,
definitely.
What else you got, Big?
What do you got?
Did you have who on Founders? Who did you interact with? Did you get to interact with Duchovny at all, Anderson at all? Well, we know you did because you were laying on the slab.
A little bit. I had an interesting thing with Gillian because we had just met when I was dead on the slab, and then we had a moment when we were sitting beside each other, and I think she was busy texting her son or something. And then this woman came up and screamed when she saw me and said, "Oh my God, you got the part!" And it was a girl that I had drank with the night that I found out I got the part. I ran into her in a bar, and she works on the X-Files show.
Awesome.
And it turned out to be Gillian's daughter, Piper.
Oh, wow.
So
That's very
yeah,
interesting.
and I basically tried to introduce them to each other, and they started laughing at me.
That's totally funny right there, you know.
And then David, actually, I mean, when there wasn't a hell of a lot of interaction at the moment, when I'm in a scene with David, I'm pretty much dead on the floor, and with the amount of hair I had at the time, it was covered in blood, and I couldn't really move. So he's straddling me, going through my pockets, and then he looks at me and goes, "Chris," because we knew each other years ago. We'd worked on this show, Connie and Carla, with Neo Vardalos and Toni Collette, which was a movie about two women hiding out from the mob, pretending to be drag queens.
Awesome.
And that was in 2003. So I had worked with him before. So there's a little banter back and forth, but I wasn't a huge part of the show this time.
It's such a small world.
It's funny, yeah.
It is.
You know, how stuff comes back, you know. What you got, baby?
So what we've heard from other people that we've interviewed, you know, working up there in Vancouver, you've said it's a small knit community.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to tell me that whole, it's like family. I mean, is that the experience that you get, that it's?
Well, it's sort of like, I'm going to say, I don't want to say small town. It was sort of like it's sort of like a small town in the way that everyone sort of knows each other. And when you're with them, you're best friends, but you're not like constantly in contact with each other. It's sort of like, it's like on film sets. You are a family on a film set because you know each other, you're very intimate with each other, and you have to allow yourself to be very, very vulnerable and do weird things in front of each other. And you get to know each other really well. So you build these relationships really quickly, but then you don't see each other for 6 months, and then you're on another show and you instantly have that bond again. So it feels like family, but it's not an everyday connection, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Interesting. You know, I mean, when you're on a show for, let's say you're on a show for so long, you know, and when the show ends, you know, I mean, is it hard to like, I mean, you go to work every day, you do, you know,
You're
and
in
then
a character.
you're in a character, and then all of a sudden, you know, the show's done, you know, I mean, do you feel bad? Do you feel up, you know?
To be honest, it's probably a little different for everyone. I mean, I've done more long-term character arcs with musical tours and things like that than with a long series. But usually you're saying goodbye to a character or leaving it at a good spot because you've done what you were supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? Like you've had that relationship and it's come to a natural close. So I don't think there's a lot of mourning period or feeling really bad about it or something, if you feel that you've serviced the character well, or they went out on a specific note that you felt was handled well.
Right.
The individual regrets you may or may not have about a character are all so varied and specific that they're hard to judge, but usually by the time you've wrapped up a long part on a show, you've done everything you can with that character, otherwise it would be continuing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, were you surprised when the X-Files came back for season 11?
No, I don't think so, actually. And I don't know if that's because in Vancouver you sort of have the buzz on the ground and you hear all these rumors and stuff before anything gets solidified. So it wasn't like a huge shock. I think we would have been more surprised if they only did the one shot come back for 10 and then didn't come back for 11.
Right. What does the X-Files being filmed up there, you know, what does it mean for the community up there?
It was a huge boost to the film industry up here because it was one of the first really, really big hits from filming in the Vancouver film industry, and it sort of set the stage. It set a sort of tone for all the shows that came afterwards that are a lot of sci-fi based stuff, a lot of episodic TV that has this gloomy, dark feel to it. That kind of tone of filming is very easy in Vancouver because it's a very rainy city, it's a very gray city. And we also are very easily adaptable to look like a lot of different cities, because you can walk 4 blocks in Vancouver and it looks like New York, and then you walk 4 more blocks and it looks like LA. It's an interesting place to be able to masquerade as different places. But the X-Files definitely really put Vancouver on the map as far as a viable place to film something that's a number 1 hit. You know, it kind of brought everything up to another level. I think the Vancouver film industry probably started years earlier with 21 Jump Street. Probably was the first big one.
I did not know that was filmed up in Vancouver.
Yeah, that was probably the very first thing that really sparked things here. And then after that, the X-Files was probably the next one I can think of that was setting things up another level.
Right.
you know, because we
That's
have
pretty.
like
That's
a lot of
That's
stuff.
pretty. Yeah, that's pretty funny. He said 21 Jump Street. Being the first to be filmed up in Vancouver because Stephen Williams, Mr. X, played on 21 Jump Street.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All the different weird connections you can make.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's very small connect, like the smoking man, William Davis, used to run a school here, the William Davis Center, which was an acting school in Vancouver. So everyone knows him. And so it is such a small little world.
Well, it is. Yeah. Do they film up in Vancouver over, California? Because is it financial reasons?
There's a lot of financial reasons for it. I mean, with the American dollar, you get a lot for your money as far as exchange. We have different regulations with the union, so we're cheaper, to be honest, a little bit. Different regulations with our union, UBCP and ACTRA up here than with SAG down there. There's a lot of things like that, but we also have tax credits, which are huge. Budgets, things that film up here to employ Canadians. There's a government program where you get a certain portion of your labor costs back from the government in a tax break. So that's huge, actually. And that's actually the reason that a lot of people film in different cities. Like almost every city or every regional location will offer some sort of tax break to come here and employ our people. And Vancouver has a very good setup for that. So it is one of the main reasons, I think.
That's interesting. I didn't know a lot of that.
Yeah, no, me either.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting in Vancouver because you can come up here and film. I don't know how it works as far as if you're a Canadian-based company or an American-based company, but basically about a third of your budget, a third of your labor budget is coming back to you. So that's a huge savings.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Now that explains why they film up there.
Right. Well, and then just the atmosphere.
Oh, you can't beat the atmosphere.
Yeah, you can't beat the atmosphere. And I've got to say, a few years back, there was a show called Human Target, which I don't think was a huge hit, but it went for a couple of years. That was one of the first shows that seemed to be all filmed all digitally. That's when everything shifted over. And suddenly the quality of everything matches the quality of everything everywhere else. You didn't see any difference in levels as far as production quality and production value. And then you still got that the atmosphere that Vancouver offers as well. So it's a good place to film a lot of different styles of stuff. Definitely.
Right. In Founders, did you watch, when it aired? Did you watch the episode when it aired?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember getting together with my friend Brian. We had a couple of beers at the bar and then went back to his place to watch it, and probably were a little drunk at the time because I was a little nervous about it because I never know what to expect, because you feel very weird when you're watching yourself die. You just do. But I was really pleased with it and really happy with it, and I thought it was a great boost. The amount of phone calls and the amount of people that were touching base who saw that and were like, "Oh God, that was amazing." So it was really great for me.
Yeah, your character in it, I felt really, really bad. He just seemed like an upset guy and a really lonely man. I just felt real bad for him, and he had to do himself in.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that noise.
Yeah, that noise because of that kid. Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite episode? I guess that's something people always ask you.
Favorite episode for the whole season?
The whole season or season 10?
For the whole series?
Well, you wanted to focus on season 10, so let's
focus on season 10.
I kind of mush them together a little. I like Founders.
I won't be hurt if it's not my episode.
Were Monsters in the 11?
Yeah.
I get them a little mixed up.
No,
10 and 11 kind of mushed together for me.
The Were Monster episode was season 10.
Oh, well, I like that one too. So that's a tough one now.
It's definitely Founders is number one, and then it's Home Again.
Okay. Do you guys know that the order was switched from filming?
Yeah, I had read about that.
Yeah, because Founders was I think it was originally the 5th episode. And then they swapped everything around, and it's so interesting that it still all plays fine.
Yeah, it is. I was expecting it to not flow as well when I read they were switching it, but it works.
The episode Home Again in season 10, when they released the titles of the episodes, everybody thought Home Again was going to be part 2 to the Home episode. In the original run with the Peacock family.
I could see that.
What they thought.
I could see that. That might be someone didn't think about that.
Yeah, a lot of people were a little disappointed when it wasn't, you know what I mean? It took because you went in expecting the peacocks and.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that episode a lot.
Oh, definitely.
Because it touched on a base that's, true to my heart, about homelessness and all that stuff, that was a good episode.
Yep, definitely.
But, that's.
I wanted to know if you could, we were talking about this and I didn't ask at the time, if you could tell us a little bit about that process of getting the body cast and what that's like.
To be honest, I always get his name wrong. I think his name's Bill, and he does most of the creature stuff in Vancouver. So you go to this little warehouse I think it's off Boundary Road, a little in the middle of nowhere, and you basically lie down, and they basically strap your legs and your arms just so you have the movement there a little bit, not restrained, but a little down. And then they just pour this goop over you slowly. They put a plastic over you too, so you don't get it all over you, kind of thing. They put they pour the goop over you, and there's little breathing holes with a little straw and stuff like that as they go. And the weird thing is, though, right before they get to about here, you're pretty fine. And then by then it's starting to stiffen it up, and you're starting to get constricted, and you're starting to you start to have that panic response. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're either going to panic or you're not, but you have that moment right before. And then you look up at the wall, and on the wall is every creature from every monster movie you've ever seen, because he's got them all on the wall. And suddenly you go, oh, that's that thing that killed me in my dream for years. And then they cover you up, and you're just.
Oh, nice.
So it's it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
I definitely would be. I don't know that I could do that.
But the one thing I thought was really interesting too is there's always little booms in the industry in different ways. And in Vancouver, there was a glut in the makeup industry for a while. There was a lot of people who studied makeup and were going to work at MAC Cosmetics and stuff, but then they got into special effects in the film industry because there was a hole. There was a hole that year. So you've got all these young blonde girls going around breaking bones and adding blood to things and stuff like that. They don't look like the guys who normally used to do that. Now you've got the girls who used to look like the fashion model makeup artists and stuff like that, who are grunting and groaning and breaking bones and doing all this stuff. It's just it's a little surreal in your head to watch.
That's the word I was gonna use.
Yeah, the getting into the makeup department and all that, that's a whole different world.
How long did you have to lay there while they were doing that?
To be honest, I don't think it was that long. I want to say it was under 15 minutes or something like that. I don't even know if it was that long, to be honest. It's just a hard thing to remember back to at the moment. I can't really say.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't too long, because I was just imagining like you there for an hour letting that stuff harden. And
I do know that, like, when we were on set and I was sitting in the makeup trailer and they had the dummy beside me and they were coloring it to match me. So I had my shirt off and they were coloring it. They had a little palette of colors, and they were checking the colors of my nipples versus the color of the nipples on there. And there was one of the makeup artists was looking at my neck and saying, he has a spot on his neck. Should we put a spot? And then they added a spot over there. They were so specific with everything that it was like, it kind of freaks you out a bit.
Yeah, it does sound.
And I would always look in the makeup mirror at the dummy. I couldn't look at it head on. It was too disturbing for me and stuff like that. So I just remember once one of the makeup artists was fixing something, and I didn't know what they were doing, but I looked in the mirror and they popped the head open to see the brain spill out. And I was eating a sandwich at the time, and it was just the worst feeling.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing your own head pop open?
No, I can't imagine that,
Yeah.
Another thing, in the episode, when they scan your eye, your eye was really bloodshot.
It's a contact lens.
Really?
It's actually, there's a contact lens with the blood on the contact lens. It's a little larger than the normal iris, and then it's got the red around it as well.
Huh. Did you notice that in that scene?
Oh, definitely.
I was like, what is wrong with his eye?
Yeah, there was a lot of blood on that eye.
That was just walking into some high security building all bloody eyed and nobody stops you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, and in the episode, you guys talked about you never saw the good doctor. You never saw the good doctor. You know, they were all complaining, you know, that where is he? Does he exist?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it too. It keeps the mystery of who he is alive.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Definitely.
I think
Any other good stories from your?
I'm thinking I remember Jim Wong, the director, he, right before my death scene, he came up to me and said, "Are you ready for this?" And he handed me a little coin. And I went, "Oh, this is interesting." And then he said, I do that with a lot of the guys. And I think he filmed a lot of the Asian martial arts movies and things like that, where people are doing their own stunts and things. He said, "I always give a coin to someone before they die." And I thought in my head, oh, is that like, you know, to pay the ferryman on the river Styx if something
Yeah.
happens? And he
I've
goes,
heard of that.
he goes, "No, it's so you don't die and you give the coin back."
Well,
that's very interesting.
yeah.
You know, I mean, what was it like working with him?
He was quite a nice gentleman to talk to, actually, and he was very focused. He knew exactly what he wanted and exactly how to get it. He's and quite charming and jovial in between takes. So it was a pretty perfect experience, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you only hear good things about him.
All right, in X-File episodes, the original run and all the you know, the new seasons, you know, do you got any favorites?
To be honest, it's been a while since I've watched, so they do kind of blur together for me quite a bit.
Yeah.
But there is that one episode with they kept pulling the mother out from under the bed.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
home.
That's home, right? Yeah. Which I don't fully remember the entire story of, but I just every now and then picture the image and get creeped out by it.
Yeah.
So it does stay with you.
Yeah,
And the cockroach
a lot of
episode.
people picked that episode, you know.
And the cockroach episode too.
Now that's a really good episode.
Yeah.
He likes
know.
that one.
Yeah, it's pretty
was
good.
fun.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to find some cockroach props.
Oh, there you go.
You know.
They have to exist, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah. You know, we thank you very much. You know, like I said, you know, we support you know, all the roles that, you know, all your colleagues, you know, do.
Yeah.
Well, when you put things up, I'll send a link out and I'll tag some of the other guys who are in it, and maybe we can start something for you.
Great, because you know, we'd love to reach out to them. We'd love to talk to them, you know, and give them a lot of love, you know, because you know, the original run gets all the love, and you know, you guys put a lot of hard work into season 10, you know, and we frankly enjoyed it, you know.
Definitely.
You know, we were just glad that you guys were all back.
Nice, very cool. It was very well received when it came back, so I was like, it was a thrilling bit to be part of.
You know, but we thank you very much, and we thank you for your time for doing this.
Okay, thank you both so much, and
Thank you.
have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.